the time because we usually meet at 5:30 local standard time in the New York area, and I pushed it up to 4 p.m. so that there is a little bit more of our friends from Europe, France, and the UK, and other countries that can also watch and participate. So that's the reason. The second thing that I have to explain is why I have a tie today. Well, I just was in a meeting that required one. And secondly, I was thinking maybe I'll keep that tie to give honor to the subject, to the topic that we are going to cover today, because I think it is not only today that we're going to cover it, but we're going to try to make it a series. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Wanted to also say that for those who are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe on YouTube. And for those who don't, still go on YouTube at one point and subscribe. The subscription on YouTube, I'm telling you, is crucial for content, for encouraging, for giving us the boost that we need. Because we need a boost, especially on YouTube. So please do that. And I also welcome those who are all over the world, really, because there is always a few that are in South America, a little bit more in Europe, a few in Asia. And really, this is always a great pleasure to see also all of you in the US, all over the country. And so today, psychological safety is a topic that comes back on coaching and also in mediation so much and so often. And it's not really a complex thing for a leader to transform a style of leadership or a focus when it is about leading a team of people or building a team. We're dealing with people, guys. We're dealing with people. And this is true that sometimes we just get distracted from that. I'm not saying that one day ChatGPT or any bot would be able to do it, but I don't think so. I'm totally and convinced, really, to the core, that we cannot replace human beings and we cannot replace leadership of a human being dealing with human beings. Is that the right way to start this little talk today about psychological safety? Maybe. Leading a team and coaching a team is a different ball game. We are involving several people to make them collaborate together, to make them productive, creative, I think, and especially feel that they are part of the game. And this is the psychology of this. This is the culture of this effort or focus or mindset that a leader can definitely create a space of trust and a space where people can feel safe. Why do I also add the point of teaming? Is because, of course, I take it as granted somehow that when it's one on one, you, the leader, make all efforts to make sure that the person in front of you is comfortable and can trust you. It's not easy, especially when you are inheriting a team, for example, and this person has a difficulty with you for X, Y, or Z reasons. I'll give you a couple of reasons why it would be a challenge for a new leader, for example. One is that leader is now becoming a leader of people that were peers to him or to her. So leading peers now, being the one designated as the leader, as the team leader, and you were just at equal level before that very day when you were announced as the new leader, is not easy for everybody to swallow, especially if there is one or two or more that wanted that job and you got it. And in spite of the fact that you have nothing to do really with the decision that has been made, these people are going to make it difficult for you. At least I know some of them that do. And this is one of a source of toxicity, of negativity that I can really tell in the last few weeks. I can really testify how much it can damage productivity and how it can damage the whole, atmosphere of the team, and the dynamic is really negative. So that's one example, right? Person has been promoted and now manages some peers in the same other team that is forming or she's forming, and has to kind of now make sure that this team performs. Another example is just inheriting a team. I'm the new boss. I replaced your previous boss. I was the one designated. Furthermore, I come from the outside. I haven't been promoted. You don't know me. I'm brand new. Or third example, that one is someone sometimes I think I went through this twice as member of the team and being a little bit frustrated with that situation. When you report to a boss that you really like and you've been working for a long time, and all of a sudden this boss decides to put someone in between you and him or her. That person now takes over the leadership from the person that you were reporting to. And that person you were reporting to is projected above and is also promoted, now becomes a skip manager. That's extremely frustrating. So many people. There is a lot of ego going on. There is a lot of emotional things going on. I mean, I think you can recognize everything I'm saying here. And truly, this is really what happens in the mind of people. And when it happens in the mind of people, you, the leader, needs to take this into consideration. This is called empathy. It's called compassion. I'm not here to teach any lesson, by the way. It's just that I really take it as a huge privilege to coach people and to coach teams and groups of people and try to help the dynamic to become a positive one. I take it as a simple task somehow to do that because I'm the privileged guy. I'm the external entity. I'm not, you know, going to be there and bear the different, tensions and daily challenges as much as all the participants that I'm coaching. Of course not. And if there is a conflict or anything that I need to address with the team, they are going through the suffering. I'm just here to try to make it dissipate or make people understand that really it has no reason to be. No. So if I succeed with that, obviously I played my role and I'm very, very happy. And most of the time, thanks God, it happens that way. It succeeds. Why? Well, there is, first of all, different methods we use. There is different experiences we had, mistakes that we made. And with time, you build and build and build experience. And when you listen to people, all of a sudden you have some kind of an automatic mechanism of understanding where the person is coming from. Or when someone says this or that, you can read between the lines, or you can hear the non-spoken, as we say. Hearing the non-spoken is most of the time what happens. Someone means something, but will never say it. Psychological safety. What are we talking about with psychological safety? Well, we're talking about a belief that an individual can be vulnerable in an organization, but especially in a team. And vulnerable means sensitive. And that means that there is all kind of antennas that can captivate different energies and make interpretations. The leader, who knows the team members or who doesn't yet, needs to be very alert about these different signals when they are showing up. But you can also prevent misunderstandings from happening. The most important thing is I want to create a safe place. The most important thing is my priority is people need to be good, feel good at the workplace, especially under my leadership. I really want them to be happy. Their success is my success. Oh, this is the same sentence you hear all over every time. I want to set you up for success because if you're successful, I'm successful. The problem is we live in a community and there is always different things that have to do with corporate culture, have to do with the temper of the day, have to do with the moment, what happened a few minutes ago. We are all human beings and we have vulnerabilities and weaknesses. So the leader has to take all of this into consideration. And there's different opinions, different authors that address this issue of psychological safety. But I think what's important to embrace here is that it affects absolutely everybody. And it is really an inclusion. It's an inclusion challenge. They talk so much about inclusion and diversity over there. But people have a bias all the time. And this bias sometimes is not necessarily you know, something that people are voluntarily doing. This is most of the time really not in fact done on purpose. But the person comes into this room with 8, with 10, with 15 people, and that's the leader who facilitates this moment where people need to trust each other, trust the boss, and be really feeling that their voice is heard, that they can participate, and that there is no threat on them if they would make or a mistake, say something stupid, or eventually give a feedback to someone else that would be a little bit uncomfortable. All these exchanges and dynamics exist in the room during that time when we meet all of us. So how many times you or I was sitting there and felt uncomfortable? The clumsy boss who says things or embarrasses someone. Oh, I can tell 10 stories, 1,000 stories. My last job was about 5 years ago, and we had a weekly meeting on Thursday afternoon with our boss, and we were about 10 directors with a vice president or a senior vice president. Anyway, she was a tall individual, 6 foot tall and more, but she would pick someone every time, every week, and that person that she would pick would be embarrassed. And was not, something she was not doing without a purpose. Her purpose, I never understood what it was, but it happened. And when it happened to me, I felt terrible. I really have at a, I don't know if I remember, but it was an emotion that you really don't want to have. It's a mix of shame, of questioning yourself, of missing something, of finding yourself ignorant or doubting about yourself. She needed to create, in fact, the opposite of safety: instability, doubts. Something could maybe have done, she might have done that for an ego reason, feeling that she was the boss and she had the authority to do that and shake up people. It was not productive and it did not motivate us. But this what was happening. So the exact opposite would have been what? To make sure that each time we meet, it's a good moment. It's not only sufficient to give a lunch box during this meeting, which at one time disappeared, like always. like always. I mean, since I moved from Europe, there is a lot of benefits and fringes benefits you get over here. And when things are going a little bit south, a little bit less money or a crisis, we remove the fringes from you. Well, look at a child, give a candy and take it back and see what happens. So this is what happened. Those lunch boxes, those birthday cakes at occasions, and all of those different little things that are not privileges are given to everybody in the team. Someday are going to disappear or come back. It's amazing, but that's something else. I don't want to diverge into this topic. I was thinking about this also, thinking about that same team and about that same boss. So listen, I share my stories too. And if you have any stories to share with us, please do use go on the website, andrepulitzer.com, send a message, and I will distribute that message. We are on different channels, podcast channels, social media channels, so you can definitely use the posting over there. And if you chat over here, it will show right there on the right side of the screen. I won't be able to chat back, but I will definitely address the point while I'm speaking. So please really share your stories. I'm very curious, and I'm sure everybody's very curious about everybody's stories. Back to that notion of safety. I really think that we need to work in an environment not only that we feel safe and that we feel motivated, but we also believe that, we believe different things. If I am sitting here and it's about participating to a project or bringing ideas to a project, I want to feel included. I want to feel that I'm able to give an idea and not be, in fact, ashamed that if my idea is not good or even ridiculous, I'm going to be put in a bad place. So, what does a leader do to do that? What is it that someone does to make someone feel comfortable or a group of people comfortable? And create that this trust is based on something completely authentic, by the way. You can't make it up. You can't make something artificial here. And it's true. Everybody senses that. If you build your brand, your reputation as a leader, as someone who creates that safety for anybody that you're dealing with, can you imagine? Can you imagine what happens to your brand and to your reputation? So I'm saying it's a very serious thing, not only because of your reputation, but certainly for the performance of your team. I really think that we always address an issue with performance. We always address an issue with well-being. And all of that can be under this umbrella called psychological safety. So the structure of that is to put yourself in the head of 1, 2, 10, or 20 people, really, and put yourself in their shoes. And whatever the agenda of this meeting is, you can make it very sure that everyone feels that they are counted, that they're part of the team, included, even if they're just brand new and just joined the team. They're welcome, they feel part of it, like a family. And by the way, we're talking about teams, we're talking about organizations. I think it applies to anything, especially families and especially kids when they are going through this incredible frustration and trauma that they've been excluded or they've been really underestimated. I think it goes exactly along the same line. And in coaching, we're not psychologists, we're not therapists, but we address issues of culture gaps, of, of misconduct from the leaders. And it is a misconduct to make someone uncomfortable, as the story I described a few minutes ago. It is a misconduct. It's clumsy. It doesn't bring any kind of value, not at all, the opposite. So as I'm talking about all of this, and as I go through further for the next 10 minutes, I'm thinking, what else can I say that we need in an organization from people? That they innovate, that they bring value, that they feel part of the team and they can help each other. What else can be, in fact, so important in that team to facilitate that? You're going to be surprised. I'm going to say to you something. One thing that you don't see in the books, but you see in the reality of life, is that people miss sometimes clarity about their roles. The role that someone play in a team is incredibly important. And what is common to many, many companies I'm dealing with, especially in high tech for some reason, and in creative meetings like product marketing meetings, like architects meeting together for a project, like any kind of creative agenda, it's amazing to me how much people miss the clarity of roles. And that when you have a crisis or you go back home as a leader and you wonder how successful you were leading that meeting today, and you see how much confusion, delays, and the motion of the meeting or the thing didn't really flow very well, it's because most of the time, beside the psychological safety not being there, the clarity of role is not there. And because of that lack of clarity, it opens it up completely for confusion and negativity. So what do? There's all kind of tips we can say. Maybe don't start a meeting before taking one or two of your team members and ask them, can you please share with everybody what's your role in this team? Can you imagine the powerful aspect of that? Just that, just as an idea, sharing with you. Please, again, I'm inviting you, if you are there, to make a comment or to say what you think about it. Because really, I think that it's a common denominator between many, many examples I'm going through each and every day of situations of teams and dynamics of teams where this lack of clarity is probably the root cause of a lack of safety, a lack of security, a lack of positivity among the team members. They don't know exactly what everybody is doing. And you know what it does, this dynamic? It's magic. I'm telling you, magic. Ask them, pick two, three people each week, each day. I don't know how many times you meet, but as frequently as you meet. Don't ever miss that 5 minute round table where people can voice and speak about their role. My interpretation of my role, or my role is about this, this, and that. You'll see an incredible effect of that. First, some people are going to realize that this person or that person does this or that, and finally says, "Oh my gosh, I never knew you were doing this." And all of a sudden, you created a collaboration opportunity. Simple. Secondly, what does it do to have a clarity of my role? It makes it clear to you, the leader, how much clear the person reporting to you is about the role. And I'm not talking about the job description here. Talking about even the CEO of the company in charge once a year of counting the bottle of wine in the cellar because you're doing an inventory. It's the kind of job that everybody can do once a year. And the inventory is a good example because usually everybody is going downstairs and does some kind of the task. My role is to count the bottles of wines for the annual inventory. And I want everybody to know that is my role. Now, I'm not telling you to be proud of your role or whatever, but sometimes people, when they talk about their role, have a pride to do that. And it is encouraging also this dynamic and this culture of positivity. So, in mind, and try it. See about the role the person hears it, bring it. Can you imagine how powerful this can be? I'm telling you, very powerful. We can spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes having people in a round table giving their name, where they're coming from, or online, and being on a virtual meeting. And we spend 10, 15 minutes about that. It's important to know people's name and where they're coming from. But the role that they play in the team, don't you think it's more important? So I think it's one of the root cause of negativity, of gaps in feeling good to be part of the team. And it's part of this psychological safety. I don't feel safe. I don't know what everybody does in this team. So role clarity, I think, is one of the example that I picked for today as the first time we're talking about this topic, and we'll talk about it more often. And I will have guests here that will share their experiences. I wanted to also add another point, is when we have failure and when we're talking about failure. Because, of course, if we are working on a project, there is failure and there is feedback. If I talk about failure, and I can even point my finger to say, "Hey, John, and you, Julie, both of you, why this happened? Can you explain to us? Because we are all here to support each other." Oh, we are all here to support each other. So we're talking about a mistake, a failure. That's how I call it, because that's what you find, the definition of the word in the dictionary. Maybe it's maybe not the word to use. I don't know exactly which one to use, but there is a gap. Let's say a gap, or there was an expectation that was not met. So why don't we address it so that for the next time, we'll be very happy and celebrate all together that this has been met finally. There was a misunderstanding. There was some kind of a delay for a reason or another. We couldn't find the resource, whatever. But we call it a failure. We missed the deadline. The client did not receive what was supposed to be received. We received a claim, whatever. Someone showed some dissatisfaction. And therefore, we are here to address the issue and resolve the issue. So talking about a failure shouldn't make anyone uncomfortable. And I said my word pointing the finger on John and Julie. Well, that's also along with a lot of contingencies before I do that. And I feel confident I can, because the psychological safety is not only about the participants, the team members, but it's about also the leader, trusting everybody and being trusted. So I think that there is enough food for thought here, and we're getting close to the clock here to be in 4 minutes at 5 o'clock, and I'm not going to extend if we are done by now. My objective was to try to convey to you a message today that psychological safety and well being is a source of productivity, of performance, is even the condition for that. What comes against it, and the biggest enemy, beside the lack of clarity of the roles of participants or team members, is also the company's culture. I have to really address this more and more often because nobody can resolve this so overnight. The company has been rooted, created, founded with different values. That's one thing. And then there is all the history of the company. It goes by decades, goes by year, by month. And there is some different milestones that this company achieved in building a culture. Sometimes it was clear from the beginning because it was intended by the founders to have a very clear culture in the company, or it's been assessed at one point and people reflected on it and then make the adjustments to define some kind of a culture and continuously work on it so that from HR, from management, from all the different places, people can get a sense of what the culture is about the company. High level, I want to describe one culture that is going to be the biggest enemy of psychological safety, and that's what we call the fragmented culture, where people work in silos. But there is some companies I've noted later in my career that in fact need the fragmented culture. In research, it happens a lot that people must work in silos. So that's an interesting point. But there will be, I think, within the silo, all the points that we're discussing will have value. Now, if a company is fragmented in the wrong way, that because for some reason or another, people keeps the cards against the chest, don't share information, are very selfish, da 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 da. We can talk about psychological safety as much as we want. It's not going to stick. So I wanted to just leave you with this thing. It's not going to stick in a fragmented culture when silos are against almost everything that has to do with collaboration, with communication, with efficiencies. All of that long term is going to hurt. And this is why I think that we need to also address this point. And you, if you're part of an organization that is that way, and the larger the organization is, obviously, the most vulnerable this organization is to be, in fact, falling in the trap of fragmentation and silos, then we need to always reflect on that and make the necessary efforts to reach out, to do cross-departmental communication and gatherings, to be proactive about it and really make people feel they belong to the organization. That's a culture of inclusion. That's a culture of collaboration and of positive psychology and psychological safety. I think the word safety is a great word today because everybody feels so unsafe, so uncertain. They lost their jobs. There is threat of laying off. There is threats of economical crisis and all of kind of things that if you really go by the information and the news, you can really get depressed and very uncertain. But if you feel and you connect to your own autonomy and your own trust in yourself, which is very important, and if the leader encourages that and inspires that, I think we're all good to go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining today. And again, as I said, let's say it's a series of 3 that we started the first one on psychological safety today, and we'll continue. Next week, we'll have a guest. I will leave you the surprise. And thank you again. And tell me, come back to me. Tell me if the time is good for you, 4:00 p.m. EDT, Eastern Standard Time, in the New York area, with all the different other time zones that are now getting to us in an easier way. I know that 4:00 is better than 5:30. So that's what I was asked to do, and that's what I did, but I'm still asking you to give feedback. Thank you again. Have a wonderful week, and see you soon. Bye.